Good morning. At this time, we'll call to order the Board of County Commissioners meeting for Thursday, June 9. Will the clerk please call the roll?
Commissioner Schaefer. Here. Commissioner Allen.
Here.
Commissioner Click is absent. Commissioner Osterhaus.
Here.
Commissioner Ashcraft.
Here.
Commissioner Brown.
Here.
And Chairman Eilert.
Here. We do have a quorum present. Would you join with me in the Pledge of Allegiance? I pledge allegiance to the flag of the United States of America and to the republic for which it stands, one nation, under God, indivisible, with liberty and justice for all. For those who are in attendance this morning, if you have a noise-making device, would ask that you turn it to silent mode or off so as not to interfere with electronic communications. We do not have any special presentations to make this morning, so we will move to the public comment portion of our agenda. If there's anyone present who would like to address an issue which does not later appear on the agenda, would invite you to the podium, state your name and address, limit your comments to 5 minutes. We'll be glad to receive that information. Yes, ma'am.
My name is Sharon Carroll. My address is 15555 South Moonlight Road, Olathe. Good morning.
Morning.
I'm here to ask you to rescind your vote on Lennox Logistics. I have been speaking here for some time now, and most of the time I can put things down on paper that conveys a message to some of you and the people that are here on the same complaint. But for the life of me, I can't come up with a reason for you to continue with a vote for a project that is said to have pulled out because of its lack of customer base. I tend to question that, but grateful for whatever reason that changed their plans for going through with building here. So my question to you is, do you think we might just go back to our lives that we lived prior to the Lennox Logistic bombshell? And you can reverse decisions and go on with this project or any project of the same magnitude without our intruding on your plans. Not going to happen, not on this project, not on any other projects. We have become watchdogs for our community, and I'm afraid you are stuck with us. We are not going away, so please reconsider and rescind your vote on Lennox Logistics. Thank you.
Thank you.
I'm Dennis Watson, 670 South Mulberry, Gardner, Kansas, 66030. I'd like to read a letter, put it on record. This is from Alan K. Marston, Jr., dated October the 11th of this year. I'm writing to express my significant concerns with the county's approval of the Lennox Logistics Cold Storage Project at New Century Air Center. I'm an Army veteran, former police officer, and am a longtime loss prevention and safety professional. I ran for city council and have spoken to citizens throughout Olathe. My entire adult life has been spent in the service of protecting people. I have experience in the realm of hazardous materials. I am not by any stretch an expert in this field, but I do know anhydrous ammonia is not to be taken lightly. When proposing a potentially dangerous plant such as Lennox Logistics, part of the planning phase is to identify worst-case scenarios. You then figure how to mitigate the situations and develop plans to reduce losses. When you consider the inherent volatility of anhydrous ammonia, I am deeply troubled that the city of Olathe was not adequately consulted. The citizens surrounding the affected area were not given due notification, and that the approval process occurred in a shroud of secrecy. As far as I'm aware, neither the city of Olathe nor the city of Gardner were consulted on the project. Granted, it is a county project, but the citizens of both cities are within the affected 1.5 mile evacuation zone. This plant, if something were to fail, could result in a significant loss of life. The nearby county jail would not be able to evacuate, risking the lives of hundreds of prisoners. The neighboring communities, families, and children would all be at risk. The nearby schools would be at risk. The response time for the nearest hazmat response team would be between 10 and 15 minutes at best. Toxic gas on a windy day can travel quickly. The county should be focusing on how to protect the people, not expose them to risks such as this. Placing this plant in such a populated area without adequate protections is an extreme gamble to begin with. Add to the fact that the Lineage Logistics as a company has been deemed to be a bad actor by the EPA and has been found to have OSHA violations. And now you have a gamble against the House. More times than not, the House wins. I'm therefore urging you to please reconsider the approval for the Lineage Logistics plant. The approval should be rescinded pending a full public hearing on the project so that all factors can be considered, not only by the county, but by the communities of Olathe and Gardner that would be impacted by this project. Thank you.
Thank you. Someone else?
Good morning, Mike Jensen, 1257 East Butterfield Place and 15665 Moonlight Road. I'm just going to echo what's already been shared. I'm going to ask you to rescind your vote. There at Lineage Logistics were very pleased that they decided to not pursue their project here, but there was two troubling little words in their letter, and those words were "for now." So we're asking you to rescind your vote so we can all rest with assurance that the "for now" won't come back into play. I want to read something. This is out of the 1992 Johnson County Industrial Airport Development Plan, the Master Development Plan. It's Section 5. It's on page 67, first paragraph. Urbanization in the Kansas City metropolitan area has nearly reached JCIA. The city limits of rapidly growing Olathe are just a few hundred feet from the northern edge of the airport. This is perhaps a mixed blessing. The airport property was once viewed and certainly marketed as isolated from other development. And I want to just remind you, this is 1992. And therefore suitable. It was marketed as isolated from other development and therefore suitable to accommodate heavy industry. As nearby residential lands become more built-up, development at JCIA will come under increasing scrutiny by landowners and residents. The Johnson County Comprehensive Compatibility Plan recognizes these concerns in developing land use recommendations for the properties surrounding the airport. So we keep hearing things like, well, you knew that this was industrial ground when you bought your property. The Carrolls have been told that. We've all been told that. We hear that over and over and over. I'm going to submit to you that you knew in 1992, before any of us ever bought our property, that development was coming, and you were going to have to change the way you developed. And we haven't seen any change. In fact, this project that you approved represents exactly the opposite. You've upped the height, and you've reduced the standards of protection for the developments around the airport. 1995, the preliminary development plan for New Century Air Center prepared by the Johnson County Airport. There was a name change that occurred in about 1995. We were no longer called the Industrial Airport. You decided you wanted to call yourselves, the county decided they wanted to call themselves New Century Air Center because you were bringing in a new century, and the focus was going to be on industrial, or not industrial park. But it looks to me, from everything I've read, that there want to be a change of image. We want to do business parks. We want to have professional employment centers. We want to change, we're real concerned about, in fact, on the front page, we're real concerned about berms and landscaping and making this a place that blends in to the area better. And once again, you approve something that flies in the face of the very plans that have been in place for decades. And then you expect us that we shouldn't be upset when you want to put something 85 foot tall with no screening, with 20 tons minimum of a toxic material right next to all this development. The taxpayer money paid to have these plans produced. So it's not a surprise that we're here and we're not going to go anywhere. We don't want that kind of development. We want PEC3 development consistent with Amazon and the other warehouses back there. Thank you very much for your time.
Thank you. Someone else? If
Bill Bonine, 28570 West 159th Terrace in Gardner. I too agree with the things that have been said. I look back and I can kind of understand why you went at this thing originally. It probably sounded like a good idea, and hopefully you didn't have all of this knowledge that we've been sharing over the last few months when you made your decision. But what I don't understand is you've heard all of these things and there's still not any movement at all, and just very concerned about that. E.M. Kelly said, remember the difference between a boss and a leader. A boss says go and a leader says let's go. The quote reminds me of this lineage project, and that was decided amongst yourselves and those you appointed to the zoning board and the airport commission, and we're doing this. You weren't bringing the people along. You weren't saying let's go with the people around there. Oh yeah, you did have to go around you did follow the 1,000-foot letter of the law, but you didn't go in the spirit of the law. You didn't go with the concern for the citizens. Let's do this as a county. Let's do this as Olathe and Gardner residents. And you just said go. We have to make this deal, and so you guys deal with it. And that's not being good leadership. Potter Stewart said, ethics is knowing the difference between what you have the right to do and what is right to do. You've had two people speak for this project since I've been coming in July. One person was asked to come. He contributed to your campaign. You asked him to come, and he was the lawyer for Lineage Logistics. A week or two ago, there was one of the airport commissioners come and spoke for it. He too is appointed by you all. Yes, you have a right to do that. That doesn't seem like the right thing to do. Please stand up for the people near the project, the people that happen to live past the 1,000-foot mark, for the people that cause so much concern and frustration, for people that would have to see this eyesore from their property and to live with potential threat in their neighborhood, for the prisoners who have no voice. Unlikely any of you living so far away from the project have to deal with. You have approved this project by meeting the letter of the law, and or else you've changed the law so you could meet it. And I believe you failed to live up to the spirit of the law of Johnson County and including your constituents. And I just ask you to rescind your vote.
Hey, thank you. Anyone else? No one else to be heard. That concludes the public excuse me. Mr. Avey.
Tom Raby, 17513 West 113th Street in Olathe. And I know I can get a word in. There's several things come to mind when these folks talk about the whatever it is, logistics place. I personally have worked around hazardous material and gave it the respect that was required by the procedures. And I don't live near there. I do live near Lenexa Logistics, which has dumped a few yards of Olathe topsoil into the storm drain and creek that goes into Mill Creek. And you guys weren't involved in that. You probably couldn't do a darn thing about it. And we went to our council person in Olathe, and it was, hey, this is Lenexa. The fact you can throw a stone from your yard into the city of Lenexa is just your tough luck. And it was never expressed like that. So I'm not going to argue with their platitudes. Their facts may be in question, but their platitudes are just emotions. And I don't know, I don't even know what the procedure is for you folks to go back and rescind your vote on this. If it's, I'm sure it's legally possible. But if you could be open for a tremendous lawsuit, Mr. Jarrett could correct me, if you rescinded this vote based on what I've heard here. But again, that's not my thing. I just want to talk today about Johnson County being a great place to do business. They're already deconstructing those 2 blocks where the courthouse is going, tearing down trees, and it's going to be a mess, but it should take place. I have on my bucket list that I want to live long enough to see the new courthouse. And so that means no delays, guys. And
We're trying.
to give you an example, most of you probably don't know about Elizabeth's Alterations. She was there for years. She does a lot of work on clothing and attire and things like that, repairs and new things. She's done some things for me. Okay, her place of business is being demolished as we speak, probably. She's already in business. The south end of Woodland at the corner of Santa Fe with a new sign and more visible location. So that's entrepreneur spirit of the entrepreneur spirit of U.S. citizens. And I'll leave you guys with this because you've been fairly or unfairly been taken to task on several things. But there's a good generalization about politicians, and it more so applies to national politicians than local politicians, in that Archimedes developed a screw about 200 and some years BC, but it took modern politicians to refine it. Thank you.
Thank you.
Good morning. My name is Irma Jolene Duckworth. I reside at 1620 East Willow Drive, apartment 103, Havencroft Apartments, Olathe, Kansas, 66062. As you'll hear from me talking, I'm not probably as knowledgeable as some that are here with the statistics, the figures, all of that. Please listen to me because I'm going to talk to you from my heart. I'm going to talk to you from an angle that maybe you have not even thought of. Back in 1985, I was dealt a very difficult situation. I had to decide where I wanted to leave, where I didn't know where I was going to go or who I was going to meet up with. I had 3 young boys. I needed to find safety. I had choices where I could go. I chose here. I went into a safe home. I came here, there was no laws to protect the domestic violence. I got deeply involved with that. I've done videos, speaking, because this was a place where I had a chance to make a difference. My heart was homesick. I wanted to go back home. My safety was here. I raised 3 fine gentlemen boys. Every single one of them have left this area. But because of this area, every single one of them have came back to raise their family. One of them works as a manager with the military, providing ammunition. Another one is an entrepreneur, electrician, master electrician. He came from Colorado. One thing he noticed, people are coming back from Colorado. They're finding places to live. I have another son that came from Washington, D.C. He wanted to come back here. He is involved with the Veterans Association. During all this time, I have surrounded myself with people that would uplift me and would uplift my family. The roads have been hard. I started school. I got my GED. I went to college. I got a job. I surrounded myself. I helped with the Safe Home. But the reason where I am today is because the people in this community that I have surrounded myself wisely and through the guidance of God. And I'm here to tell you that I know Pam and Mike Jansen. I know them very well. They're not ones to step back and to try to delay any kind of development just for the sake of they don't like it. They're the ones that are there whenever they see what the damage can be done to the future of my grandchildren that I brought here. This place here, you all want it to grow. That's why you have all this development. But do you think that it's appealing to people that are looking for a place to live? Knowing about this and the potential of such a company as this? I know it would give me something to think about if I had to consider that back in 1985 whenever I had to choose where I wanted to take my family and go to safety. This community has done me good. This community has been safe. It has been a place where I've seen changes being made and laws being made. But I'm here to tell you, if you believe anything I say, Mike and Pam Jansen have done their research. They're not here just talking out of emotions. They're not here talking out of their desires of what they want their land and what they prefer. They're talking because they have done research. They have done they know their facts. And I believe in them. I wouldn't be hanging around them. I wouldn't be depending on a lot of their guidance, not only as a citizen of Johnson County, but a fine citizens in just helping. Do you realize what these people do to go out on the streets and help the community? You're not even aware of that. They are not your enemy. They are for the community. Just trust them. I know that's way out of the area. You know, you've got lines you got to follow. You've got rules you got to follow and stuff like that. But I'm asking you because I am here and we are this morning, God laid this on my heart. And I'm talking out of all sincerity. Search your heart. Search what this can mean. It may mean money in great ways of having something like here on one way, but the final destruction of the potential of what it can do, just think about it. Just search your hearts. Just think about it, please. Just think about it. Thank you.
Thank you. Is there anyone else? All right, thank you. If there's no one else to be heard, the public comment portion of our agenda is concluded. I would just simply make this remark. Since the lawsuit was filed, counsel has advised us that our comments need to be judicious and not discuss any of the issues involved in the lawsuit. Some may not understand that approach, but That's the frequent approach that is used in an issue where there is a lawsuit involved. I would simply make this comment that the issue about transparency, there have been somewhere between 6 and 8 public meetings that have been held on this issue. At least 3 of those were before this commission, and at every one, public comment was requested, and at least on 2 of them, public comment was received. There was public comment before the Board of Zoning Appeals. There was public comment before the Airport Commission. So that fact needs to be emphasized, and any lack of transparency needs to be corrected. Thank you all very much. I do have a couple of notes for the record. I have signed the ambulance transport agreement, addendum number 1, with the city of Lenexa, Kansas, originally approved on November 5, 2009. Secondly, I will be signing the development agreement with David and Julia Swikert that stipulates that during the construction of the new home on property located at 3550 West 191st Street, certain provisions to ensure timely removal of the existing dwelling following the occupancy of the new home, and contingency funds that the county can use to remove the existing dwelling in the event that owners do not. That concludes notes for the record. Moving to the consent agenda. Will the clerk please read the proposed consent agenda item?
Item number 1, consider approving the October 19, 2017 business session minutes. And item number 2, resolution number 093-17, consider authorizing land record projects for 2017 and 2018 for the Automated Information Mapping Systems, AIMS, and operation within the Department of Technology and Innovation, and transferring and appropriating excess Register of Deeds technology funds from 2017 in the amount of $254,824 for these projects.
Is there any member of the commission who would like to have an item considered separately? Is there anyone present who would like to have an item considered separately? Being no one to be heard, Mr. Osterhaus.
I'll move that we approve the consent agenda as read.
Second.
Motion's made and seconded to approve the consent agenda as presented. Will the clerk please call the roll?
Commissioner Schaefer.
Aye.
Commissioner Allen.
Aye.
Commissioner Osterhaus.
Aye.
Commissioner Ashcraft.
Yes.
Commissioner Brown.
Aye.
Chairman Eilert.
Aye. Motion carried. Moving to the action agenda, next item.
Item number 3, resolution number 088-17, and application number AUOX-ADUP-3347. Consider a request from Dave Webb, applicant, and Webb Family LLP, landowner, for an accessory dwelling unit permit located at 4815 West 191st Street on 70 acres on property zoned RUR, Rural Zoning District.
Ms. Wicklund.
Good morning. This is a request for an accessory dwelling unit, ADU, located along 191st Street, just east of Knoll, as you can see here on the vicinity map. Just a reminder that ADUs can be processed one of 2 ways. One is administrative, and if they cannot meet all of the administrative criteria, then they can go through the public hearing process to get approval for their request. In this particular case, the 2 reasons that require the public hearing is that ADU is proposed to be up to 1,800 square feet in size, and 900 square feet is the maximum administratively. And then the second reason is that the ADU may be located a little bit more than 200 feet from the principal dwelling unit on site, and 200 feet is the maximum administratively. Both planning staff and zoning board are recommending approval because the property is 70 acres in size, so it's a very large parcel. It's heavily wooded, as you can see here on the aerial picture. and the ADU will not be seen from the street or the closest home, which is about 1,000 feet away. There are no issues or concerns with this ADU. If you have questions, I can answer those.
Questions of the staff? Is the applicant present? Any comments they would like to make? All right, so noted. Anyone else who would like to address the commission on this item? All right, there being no one to be heard, is back before the commission. Mr. Brown.
Thank you, Mr. Chairman. I move to adopt resolution number 088-17 approving an accessory dwelling unit permit located at 4815 West 191st Street for the reasons and subject to the stipulations set forth in the resolution.
Second.
Motion's made and seconded to approve the resolution as stated. Any questions or comments? Clerk, please call the roll.
Commissioner Schaefer?
Aye.
Commissioner Allen?
Aye.
Commissioner Osterhaus?
Aye.
Commissioner Ashcraft?
Yes.
Commissioner Brown?
Aye.
And Chairman Eilert.
Aye. Motion carried. Next item.
Item number 4, resolution number 094-17. Consider adopting the strategic plan for the County Assistance Road System Program.
Yes, Mr. Lage.
Good morning, Commissioners. Kent Lage, Urban Services, Public Works Department. I'm here today to present a resolution to adopt the CAR strategic plan. The strategic plan was presented to you at a committee of the whole meeting in September. As a result of that meeting, the board directed staff to bring the resolution forward for consideration. As I mentioned last week, since that committee of the whole meeting, we did complete some minor wordsmithing changes to the document to better clarify the intent of the steering committee. I'll provide a very high-level overview of the process and the strategic plan itself, and then we'll answer any questions you have. So we had quite a diverse steering team. It was comprised of representatives from the CARS Technical Review Committee, city and county administration, as well as city council and county commission representation. We received input from city staff, other county departments, neighboring cities and counties, Mid-America Regional Council, as well as local engineering firms. We also completed a benchmarking exercise looking at national trends and state of the practice in transportation. Out of all that, we identified 4 overarching outcomes as part of the strategic plan. The first being that we leave the current CARS funding approach as is. We developed and recommended a mission and vision, developed a planning scenario to further articulate the future of the CARS program, and then also identified 4 gap areas based on our national trend analysis and state of the practice. Those 4 gap areas that we look to move forward with as part of the strategic plan implementation include implementing livable streets in Johnson County with the cities, expanding multimodal systems, integrating intelligent transportation systems into our transportation system, and then search for additional and alternative funding specifically dedicated and growing funds. The strategic plan will be completed in 2 phases. Phase 1 will be updating our policies and procedures, and Phase 2 will be implementation as funding allows. And with that, I'll stand for any questions.
Questions? Mr. Ashcraft.
Thank you, Mr. Chairman. Mr. Lage, you mentioned that you did, I think you used the term wordsmithing on the strategic planning scenario. Did you share that with all the commissioners?
I did not.
Mr. Lage did share it with me. I thought it looked pretty good. I think it addressed several of the issues that were raised. I just was wanting to get clarification. You used the term, and I really don't want to read this whole passage to you, but you used the term and equitable access to transportation choices. Equitable. I was trying to figure out what you were trying to get at with that term. When do you know what I'm talking about?
I do.
You have a copy.
Yes.
You want to frame it for everyone so they know what we're saying.
Yeah, the intent of that terminology was to say we as cities and county want to provide transportation to as many residents in Johnson County as possible.
Okay. Having said that, Mr. Chairman, I wanted to again congratulate Kent and Mr. Lage and his staff on the efforts that they've made with strategic planning, particularly as it relates to stormwater. I have some reservations about this, although I am supportive of it, because there are components of the plan that focus on seeking additional funding, maybe a little more heavily than my argument of trying to better utilize existing funding. But Mr. Lage has assured me that that's part of the developmental process, and I understand that and respect that. So I offer my support, but as Mr. Brown sometimes would offer, I will be keeping an eye on this. Is that how you say it, Mr. Brown, or be looking at it? Yeah, but because
as a frequent user of public transit, right?
of any transit, because I think, and Mr. Pedic mentioned this to me again yesterday, with the changes in AI, artificial intelligence, and its potential impact on transportation, we are going to see big changes in the next 5 years, 10 years at the most. I mean, it's already started. And just the thought process of, well, if we always do what we always did, we always get what we always got, and that may work at some level, but with smart cars and smart movement and smart elects like County Commissioner Ashcraft, it's a different dynamic. So good job. I look forward to keeping an eye on you.
I might get this from you in the future.
Oh, yeah, he does that, doesn't he?
Well, you know, I don't know what the right phrase would be in regards to artificial intelligence and driverless vehicles and all those kind of things that are in our future. But I thought it was interesting to note, I think it was yesterday reported that Las Vegas has set up a driverless bus from the airport to some points along the Strip. And the first day of operation, it was in an auto accident. So the confidence level may have been up here, but it's somewhere lower than that. But I'm sure those issues will get resolved. Any other questions? All right, thank you. Is there anyone present who would like to address the commission on this item? All right, being no one's to be heard, Mr. Allen?
Just one quick comment. I did sit on this strategic planning with Penny. There were several meetings, several hours long, and a broad base of people throughout the county, both on the stormwater and the cars. And I've said in the past, this is one of the most successful programs in Johnson County the last 30 years. But I do understand what Mr. Ashcraft's talking about. Things more than likely are going to change. So, but I'd like to thank everybody that was involved in it. And I would move for approval of resolution number 09417, adopting the strategic plan for the County Assistant Road System Program.
Second.
Motion has been made and seconded to approve the resolution in regards to, and to adopt the strategic plan for the County Assistance Road System Program.
Easy for you to say.
Yeah. Are there any other questions or discussion? There being none, would the clerk please call the roll?
Commissioner Schaefer?
Aye.
Commissioner Allen?
Aye.
Commissioner Osterhaus?
Aye.
Commissioner Ashcraft?
Yes.
Commissioner Brown?
Aye.
And Chairman Eilert?
Aye. Motion carried. Are there any other items on the action agenda?
No, sir.
All right, we'll move to reports and communications. Mr. Zacharias.
Thank you, Mr. Chairman. 2 items today. First of all, you have information about the Johnson County Environmental Sanitary Code fee increases. You have information in your packets about what we're proposing with the Department of Health and Environment to increase those fees between 0% and 7.1% for 2018. You have a comparison of the last 10 years of what our fee increases have been done on average. You also have a full listing of the individual fees that are there, as well as some comparisons with other counties, Douglas County, Wyandotte County, et cetera. So we do plan to go ahead and implement these fees unless you would like to have us have more information about that for the next 30 days. As by virtue of our resolutions, we're allowed to go and do that. We want to inform you, though, about those activities. No one's here today from Health and Environment. We certainly can have them here next week if you'd like, but just know that information is in your packets as we go forward. Let me pause there and see if you have any questions about what's in the packets and go from that point.
Questions? Mr. Ashcraft.
Thank you, Mr. Chairman. Mr. Zacharias, and we can do this offline, you don't necessarily need to bring it back to the commission, but I was trying to understand the rationale behind the various fee increases. I'm not offering a criticism, but it just didn't, because it does vary. And
right.
What the basis for that rationale. So if someone, Mr. Thompson or...
We can do that. I think the general explaining, you've asked us to make sure you have full cost recovery, so we have a pretty elaborate model that we go through each one to go ahead and do that.
That really was the basis of it.
That's
because you had the comparisons there, and it's just like, well, are we trying to keep up with these other communities?
No, it's not. I think, like I said, full cost recovery without adding to it any sort of additional expenses. So we try to be very precise about saying we're covering our costs, but no more. And to give you a sense of how we are in comparison to other counties, some counties decide to subsidize that activity. We do not, given your direction.
Okay, no, I understand, and we don't need to meet unless Mr. Thompson has something else he wants to share with me. But I appreciate that.
No, that's right. Well,
all right, next item.
Exactly right. The next thing is just public information about a Indian Creek Interceptor 2 capacity improvement projects. This is the area that's downstream and upstream of the Meadowbrook improvements as we expand those sewer lines. We talked about that last week. That meeting is going to be tonight at 7 o'clock p.m. in Christ Church at 5500 West 91st Street. So those individuals that want to have more information than what's already been there are certainly welcome to attend, as well as any commissioners. It lies wholly within District Number 1. So we're just making you aware of these activities. So
okay, thank you.
That's all I have, Mr. Chairman.
All right, moving to commission comments. Mr. Schaefer?
None today, sir.
Mr. Ashcraft?
Just one, Mr. Chairman, I wanted to thank Ms. Postoke Ferguson. She actually gave me a draft on the charter on the fire services that I mentioned last week, and I understand there's a meeting scheduled the 22nd, sometime in the 20th? Okay, in the near future. That's great. I was wondering when the charter will be brought back to the commission for action, and last week, Mr. Chairman, you said if it's brought back. I'm just wondering what the thought process is on that.
Well, it depends upon the task force decision.
Even though this is a commission action, it depends on the task force decision?
You ask for timing, depends upon the decision process that the task force makes.
Okay, so sometime after
I would
that
assume
meeting.
so.
Okay,
Yeah.
That's fine. Thank you. That's all I had. Thank you, sir.
Mr. Allen?
No comments.
Mr. Osterhaus?
No comments, thank you.
Mr. Brown?
Thank you, Mr. Chairman. I have a few here, and I'll run through them quickly. First one would just bring to everyone's attention, in case you missed it, at Olathe West High School, we had a junior commit suicide on Saturday morning, and I would ask that everybody keep his family, his friends in your prayers. He was a good young man and involved in his community and made good grades and was extracurricular activity, and there was no sign that that was coming, apparently. So a shock and surprise to a brand new high school. I would like to additionally then move on to I continue to struggle with our website, and I hear constant feedback from people who can't watch us live stream, can't watch on an iPhone, which the iPhone we're 10 years old on the iOS platform, and you still can't watch a county meeting on an iPhone or an iPad. I'm sure that there are reasons for that, but I'm struggling greatly with the fact that we are struggling for, as a collective group and as a government, for transparency, and the general public who on the largest operating platform on earth can't tune in and watch us. So continue to struggle with that and would appreciate some updates as we're going about how we're addressing that.
Good point. If I'm here, Commissioner, I think we are in that's the process, one of the updates for our SIRE system that we plan to go ahead and do the first of the year, which we think have acquired that contract, remember correctly, or close to acquiring it. That's going to be part of the issues to make sure it's on mobile platforms. We're also looking at trying to update our website in general. So points well taken, and we're working on that.
Okay. Thank you. Would point out that we had great news in Edgerton. I was at a groundbreaking. We're getting a Dollar General, which, in the city of Olathe, that might not hit the radar, but that made a big splash in the pond of my littlest, mightiest city in Edgerton. I was there for the groundbreaking. That's very exciting. A lot of those sales tax dollars will now remain in Edgerton for eggs, milk, and et cetera. And then also would like to point out we had elections on Tuesday, and in the 4 cities in my district in the Big Six. We have 2 new mayors, and I look forward to working with them and applaud the hard work and efforts that the previous mayors put into making their city great. That is all. Thank you, Chairman.
Thank you. Mr. Osterhouse, did you have a comment?
Yeah, I think Commissioner Brown, that's the second largest platform behind the Android platform. I just wanted to make a quick correction there. But
what's Android?
Well, you know, the technology is in the process of being addressed, and I would just remind us all that technology is not inexpensive.
No, it's not.
And so the opportunity to make those improvements will cost dollars. So thank you very much. Do want to acknowledge that Saturday, November the 11th, at 11 a.m., we will have our county Veterans Day activities. And this year, as it rotates around the county, we'll be at 119th and Lowell, in Overland Park at the Korean War Memorial. Also, if you have not contacted the clerk and advised of your attendance or lack thereof at the vote canvass on Monday for the recent election last Tuesday, that would be Monday the 13th, please do so. There is at least one extremely close race that might be impacted. We'll see. And then also the Kansas Association of Counties annual Kansas Conference is this Tuesday, Wednesday, and Thursday, November 14 through 16, and that's being held at the Overland Park Convention Center, and most of us will be in attendance. However, we will continue with our regular scheduled meeting next Thursday. We do have a request for an executive session. We have agenda review, both for regular agenda and Public Building Commission to come yet. So, Mr. Allen, do you have a motion?
Approximately for both those meetings, maybe 20 minutes.
We're at 10:20 right now. Why don't we make it 10:45?
I would move that the board recess its open meeting and convene an executive session at approximately 10:45 a.m. for a period of 20 minutes for the purpose of receiving advice of counsel and to preserve the attorney-client privilege, and to reconvene an open session in this room at approximately 11:05 a.m. or as soon thereafter as the executive session may end.
Second.
Motion has been made and seconded to approve the request for the executive session. Will the clerk please call the roll?
Commissioner Schaefer?
Aye.
Commissioner Allen?
Aye.
Commissioner Osterhouse?
Aye.
Commissioner Ashcraft?
Yes.
Commissioner Brown?
Aye.
And Chairman Eilert.
Aye. Motion carried. That concludes our regular business agenda. We are adjourned. We'll take a short break and come back for agenda review, both regular session as well as PBC. Thank you all very much.
Thank you, Mr. Chair.
time for the executive committee. We are now reconvened in open session. We do need to extend that time. Mr. Allen.
I would move the board extend their executive session to approximately 12 p.m. for the purpose of receiving advice of counsel and preserve the attorney-client privilege, and to reconvene in open session in this room at approximately 12 p.m. or soon thereafter as the executive session may end.
Do I hear a second?
Second.
Motion's made and seconded to extend the executive session as noted. Clerk, please call the roll.
Commissioner Schaefer?
Aye.
Commissioner Allen?
Aye.
Commissioner Osterhouse?
Aye.
Commissioner Ashcraft?
Yes.
Commissioner Brown?
Aye.
Chairman Allard?
Aye.
Okay.
Motion carried. We'll move back to executive session.
Yes, and I, and it was a combo.
We'll reflect that at approximately 12 p.m. we reconvene from executive session into open session. No action required, so we are officially adjourned. We'll see you on Veterans Day this Saturday at 11 o'clock, and enjoy the weekend.
Wear a coat, correct?
Yeah.
Yeah, bring your jacket.
Be like